Welcome back to the Bishop Street stand for our fourth update as part of the renovation works that are taking place on this side of the One Call Stadium. Sid Pepper's with me, the director who's overseeing this project, and we can see, Sid, visually, since our last update, there's been a lot of improvement.
A lot of improvement, and I'm a lot more relaxed because we're nearly there now. By being nearly there, I mean we've now dealt with all the little snags that's been thrown at us. I will show you and remind you of a few of those as we go around. But what you can see now is the steelwork, which is going to be concreted to form the brand new steps where the wooden ones were. All this has then got to be overcoated to achieve the correct rise and go.
So we're at the front of the stand now. This is where the wall was.
There was a wall. I never understood why. It's a huge, heavy thing, poured in situ, and it's taken an age to saw this out, but we've had to take this out because this bottom pathway had to be, I think, 80mm wider than that was allowing us to be. But it has to be, you know, SAG has to be SAG approved, and people should be relaxed in that knowledge as well.
We're down here in the toilet area, the new toilet area beneath the stand, and we can see a lot of development's been made, a lot of progress.
A lot of progress here, yes. One Call Maintenance were brought in to do this. The thing is, the stand, the original stand, had two things going for it, in my opinion, at the time when this was being assessed, was that we got a good underground toilet area. Okay, it needed levelling, it was on different levels. It's now all level, it's all been replastered, and it's a really nice area. Bearing in mind this is only for males.
You spoke previously about an emergency exit here.
Yes.
And it leads directly onto Bishop Street. Talk us through that. Let's have a look. Let's
well, don't forget, Bishop Street was a way in. You know, you can imagine hundreds of people walking up Bishop Street to come in through these turnstiles. Now, we're keeping this emergency door. This is for anybody that happens to be trapped in the toilets. So let's have a look. Let me reveal Bishop Street for people who's never seen Bishop Street. Be prepared. And straight away, we see a problem. That you cannot step down from an emergency exit. It has to be level. So we've got a very, very good architect who's come up with a plan. We're going to reposition the door inwards so it opens on that landing. So you're coming out onto a landing. Yes, you'll still have a step down, but you can't come immediately into a step. Another little challenge that we've had to deal with. But I love coming onto this street because here again, these people have been super, by the way. They've been very helpful.
Were these the old turnstiles then?
Yes, yes. Through there and into turnstiles. So a lot of the space which now being a toilet was in actual fact a milling area with toilets left and right. Now it's all toilets. But again, just get the shot here of how close we actually are. And an updated shot of the earthworks that holds the original stand up. And dry stone walling. I mean, it's just incredible. But of course, all the money and time was spent reinforcing it below ground. So this no longer supports the stand. It did, but doesn't now. Okay. Now looking up here, this wasn't built that well. And these 5 columns that you can see here, you can see one being plated up, were all rotted, all corroded, due to water sitting inside the cavity. That steel was being affected from day one. That's 100 years of rot, which now will not happen because there's no floor now that's going to be properly built. But don't forget, this was built in the 30s. And they did a lot of great buildings in the 30s. The only problem was this wasn't one of them. So, you know, we're dealing with fairly poor building practices, and that wall would have collapsed. All this brickwork's been retied back to the columns. This would have all collapsed had we not done something with the site.
Worth reminding supporters, isn't it, that when this stand is eventually open to fans, they'll be entering via Quarry Lane. There'll be no entrance via Bishop Street itself.
No, that's done with. That'll never happen again. It's just hard to imagine. I mean, look at that, how people park now. Can you imagine hundreds of fans trying to get down there? So that's not happening. They've got the new turnstiles in at the moment at the Quarry Lane. That's going to be a nice entrance. And then there's the fan zone. Then you'll be coming into the stand itself.
Okay, let's head back in.
The only way this can be being used is up one way, down the other. So you never get crossover. I've got a cherry picker come in that'll allow them to get up to the steelwork. It was originally going to be sandblasted. I could see some real issues with sand blowing everywhere, so we're going to do it with water, high pressure water, which is basically going to remove loose paint. You can see where it's crackling, so it takes the loose paint off, and then we're applying a very, very expensive system which is designed specifically to work on steel that's not been properly cleaned. And we can't properly clean it because we can't.
Let's talk about the seats that are going to go in eventually. How many seats are going to go in here? How many fans can come in the first phase and enjoy the match from here?
Somewhere around about 760.
760.
Maybe a plus or minus on that because we've still got to agree some areas that have got poor line of sight. But nevertheless, it's a substantial number.
When are the seats likely to go in?
When we finish concrete.
That's the answer I was expecting. Can you give us a rough time frame? I know you don't like talking about time frames, but I think people want to know.
Well, of course they do. And the whole thing about following this through is for people to understand about all the work that's gone into getting to where we are today and where we are now out of the ground. And I've made a little note here. I've made a little note which tells me that we have removed over 300 tonne of spoil.
300 tonne?
300 tonne. And we've replaced it with 450 tonnes of concrete. I mean, these are big numbers. And that was all to get to that. Okay, it's all underneath there. The amount of concrete going in these won't be that much, but they're going to form the concrete in on which the stands or the seats are fastened. But the problem is, as we've always known, is the variation on all these. You can see from your own eye, I don't need a tape measure, these vary, and they vary outside of sag capability. So as we pour these steps now, the same rise and go will come down all the way down to here.
When will it all be put in, the steel, and then when will the seats likely to go in?
I would anticipate being finished 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah. We've unearthed everything, that's what I'm saying. Everything was before, we came across this problem, that problem, and we've had to resolve that. This now is almost, if you like, plain sailing because you're back to normal build. You're creating your own datum. So once you're making your own datum, which of course brings us on to the other point, is that this stand falls 300 millimetre that way and it's twisted this way. So when people sit over there and they're looking, because there's some keen-eyed ones amongst them, you know, they're going to say, bloody hell, Sid, it's not level. Well, no, it isn't. We've had to replicate what existed. We could never reposition the structure. So we've just had to follow and work with it. The difficulty is the interface between brand new steel, which will be plumb, line and level, trying to work to something that's not plumb, line and level. But we will overcome it.
So when you've got the steel in, when the seats are in, what's next?
Oh no, the seats are the last thing to go in because don't forget, we've got to paint this stand. That's going to take two weeks to blast it, jet blast it and paint it, 2 coats of paint, and it'll be blue, okay? Then the next thing we do is take the roof or the cladding off.
Yeah.
And that is all new cladding, obviously. And we're also going to put, if you look up there, we're actually going to treat everybody to a gutter. So instead of on those torrential rainy days of not being able to see anything, suddenly clear.
Fast forward it then. What I'm getting at is I want to get to a time frame as to when supporters might be able to come in for the very first time. Are we looking at pre-season, for example?
No, I don't believe so.
Not quite pre-season.
We will be finished pre-season. That's an objective that I have to achieve. But then in fairness, other people then got to come in and do their work. And that's creating the fan zone, the toilets outside, ladies and less abled.
Yeah.
And why, for the sake of maybe 2 weeks, put somebody under that kind of pressure and then rush something? There's no point in rushing it. Once this is done, then there's all the time in the world left then to do a nice, proper job ready for the start of the season.
We've done a lot of these updates quite in depth, this being the 4th.
Yes.
Have you overcome the main challenges now then?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've itemised them, you've witnessed them, you've seen them. I've just shown you another one with the door, something and nothing, but it's just something else and shows the amount of depth that has to go into almost every day. You have a drawing that tells you you're going to do this, then you do this, and that's not right by 20 millimetre, or that's there where we're at now. But it's a good builder can overcome all that.
I sensed some months ago that there was some frustration in you about
But
some
you
of
can
the
see
works.
the relief now, can't
Yes,
you?
that's what I'm saying now. We can visually see the progress. It's
Good.
starting to take shape.
Yes, not only is it taking shape here, it's taking shape on my face, and I've got a bit more room in my brain left now than what I did have. Because it was problem solving. But to my mind, it was still worth it. This has taken longer than what we thought. It certainly cost a lot more money than anybody would have hoped for, but it's cost what it's cost. And I'm still adamant, particularly as I've shown you again Bishop Street, and I've told you how much concrete's gone in just to make this stable. Just imagine what it would have been if we'd have had to take this down. That would have been 1,000 tonnes off site, and we'd have still had to put that 450 tonnes back, and probably a retaining wall. Okay, we might not even got planning. So it doesn't really matter who, why, where, when. Once I'd had it checked that it was viable, albeit that we needed to do some remedials, once I knew the structure was viable, then to me this was the only way forward and the quickest way forward.
Any other updates of note for our supporters and viewers, Sid?
Well, I'm grateful for their interest. I hope they enjoyed this fourth one. To me, I was going to make one last one, but you insisted, and I think you were right. I think, you know, we can see again another phase of work taking place, and as we go out, you'll see the new retaining wall. You'll remember that wall was trying to fall away when it cracked.
Yeah.
Yet another thing that we could have done without, and that's probably cost 50,000 at least, just to do a retaining wall that we didn't really need, but we did because it fell away because of the earthwork, which again I've shown you that it was earthwork and dry stone walling. So no, we're nearly there.